puts the thumb in the pudding? Why don't you do that? It's called, welcome to the diversity duo, where we mock each other's culture.
We certainly do.
Hey, Maria.
Lisa.
How are you today?
I'm doing well. How about yourself?
Good. Happy Wednesday.
Oh, my God. I was going to say
So
Happy
weird.
Friday. Thank you.
So weird.
Thank you. It
Yeah.
is weird to do it
This
on
is
a
what
Wednesday.
you look like on hump day.
That doesn't sound good, Lisa Westgate.
Keeping that in.
Hope
Keeping
that-
that in. But
Ooh.
was there anything
You just- What? Okay, that's how we're gonna play this episode. Let's do this. Let's. Oh, you should be turning red. Go ahead.
Are we ready to start?
Oh, we started. We're not taking this off.
all
This
right.
is staying. Go ahead.
So, hi.
Hi. Now that you're making me turn red too.
So, a great day today. We have
Yes,
a
indeed.
great guest.
Indeed.
You introduced me to her, oh gosh, probably a year ago, maybe, give or take. So I'm going to let you do the honors and the introduction and all of that. And then we're going to talk a little bit about her sister, because her sister is very meaningful to the diversity duo.
Sure is. So I wanted to bring my friend, Dulce Orozco, who is the owner of Latina Immigrant Therapist, because there's so much that involves running a business. And sometimes as business owners, we forget to take that mental break. And I'm hoping that we get from this conversation tools on how to do that when we feel that imposter syndrome, when we feel like, oh my God, one more, but you're dead tired. I hope and I know, hope is the wrong word. I know she's going to give us tools to handle those kind of feelings or emotions, if you will.
Yeah.
So without
But
further...
no, before we do that, though, if I could just jump in.
Okay, go ahead.
So to me, I think some of the things that I'm excited to jump into is to have someone here today in 2025 who's taken on what I think is an incredible responsibility to offer therapy to the immigrant population in a time when the world appears to be against them.
Absolutely.
And I want to hear, and I think what would be interesting for small business, mid-sized business, large business,
Right.
What the heck do you do? How do you support immigrant employees who are faced with the challenges that they're faced with today?
Oh, I love that.
Because
I love that.
I think it's a ginormous burden on business to keep afloat while your population, and I'm not going to make this political, regardless of who you voted for,
Right.
but what we're seeing now is this comparison of people who maybe voted against the interest of their employees
Right.
are now faced with challenges of keeping their labor costs down
Right.
when people can't show up for work because they don't know what's waiting for them,
Right.
because they're being stopped by ICE as they are proceeding to
correct.
work. And, we have created a scenario through this socialization of, I'm going to think of a nice word because it's only terrible words I have in my head right now. But as we've created this monster, it is affecting business.
It is.
And we're not, and listen, I want to talk about people always, but our podcast is about business. How do employers help and support their immigrant status people who are coming into the office every day? That's my hope.
No, I hear you. And so I know she's listening, so she's going to be able to jump. So without further ado, I present you to Dulce Orozco. She is the owner again of Latina Immigrant Therapist. Dulce, welcome to the show.
Thank you so
Hi,
much.
Dulce.
Thank you for having me.
Excited to have you here today.
Absolutely. So tell us a little bit about you and your business, and then we'll jump in and ask you questions. And if you have questions yourself, which we don't get from our guests, please shoot.
So I'm welcome to ask
Yes,
questions,
please,
even
please
though you
do.
normally do not get them.
No,
Okay.
we're willing to.
Thank you. So to tell you a little bit about myself, I am... so I was born and raised in Venezuela, and I came here after I graduated from high school. The plan was that I was going to come, learn English, and go back home, but I applied for a scholarship without telling my parents. And fast forwarding, many years later, I'm here. By now, I've lived here most of my life. I am a mom, a sister, a friend, a business owner as well. I am raising 2 first-gen daughters, and at times feel that I have no idea what I'm doing, but I'm trying to do my best. And I am constantly trying to do better in my life, which sometimes I feel that that can fall into perfectionistic tendencies, which I try to stay away from. But yeah, that's a little bit about myself. I am a psychotherapist, and as you said, Maria, the name of my business is Latina Immigrant Therapist. So my specialty is working one-on-one with women of color and from immigrant families, and I also work with Latinx employees, immigrant employees, and Latinx students in work settings, group settings, sorry.
All right.
That's wonderful.
That's
great. And how long have you been doing this?
Right.
Well, so the other day I realized that I graduated from undergrad in 2005. So
Okay.
I've been officially working in the mental health field for 20 years,
Wow.
which feels like a long time.
Or a blink, right? Like, oh my God, 20 years. Where did it go? 20 years gone, right?
Yeah, a little bit of both.
So I have a question for you if you don't have one ready to
No,
go.
jump in.
Okay. So I created a set of questions.
You always have the best questions, Maria.
Oh, thank you, my friend. Thank you. So what unique mental health challenges do immigrants, families, and immigrant professionals face that the rest of the population might not see or understand? And when I say immigrants, I mean all immigrants of all colors from all different countries other than the United States.
Yeah, so my the first thing that I would like to say about this is I don't want this to sound that, the rest of the people do not face any of it, right? We all do. If anything, I would say that it almost intensifies for the immigrant population or the immigrant community. And I feel that the biggest challenge, and I was just at a conference on Saturday, and, I'm thinking back at something I said, and it's the hesitation or the fear to bring our whole selves into the table for many reasons. You know, it can be intergenerational trauma. It can be imposter syndrome. It can be that that doubt of, do I belong here? Should I be better? What do I need to do to prove them that I do belong here? So there's all these layers of complexity, but the way I see it, without using psychological terms, is that hesitation to really put your whole self out there without fear of being accepted, without fear about what would they say, without fear about, is this where I belong to? Is it somewhere else? And I feel that a lot of energy and time and even potential gets lost, right? It falls into all these cracks. So I don't know, Maria, if that answers your question.
Well, let's run a little bit further with that.
Yeah.
In this fear, I think I know the answer, but I want to hear from you. You're the expert. Why do you think this fear exists?
Yeah, well, the way I look at it is our past, right? Where perhaps many of us have or know about many stories where you have evidence that, this happened to them. It can happen to me. And going back to what you were saying, Lisa, right at the beginning, especially in times like this, right? Unfortunately, unfortunately in times like this where it almost feels like no matter where we look, we're bombarded with all these different, I don't even know how to call it, right? But yeah, so that fear, if anything right now, it has a very strong foundation.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I think, for the simplest of psychological terms, we can go back to Maslow's theory, right?
Yes.
The base of Maslow's theory is not being maintained if I'm not mistaken, the base is the physical and emotional safety, not being maintained by an enormous part of our population is simply not safe on a day-to-day basis.
Absolutely.
And the children of the immigrants today whose fear of their parents walking out of the house because the fear of maybe they're not coming back.
Right.
This is asinine.
Just to jump in quickly, not just the fear, but how about that trauma that is being created?
Yes.
So nobody wants to leave their homes. Even immigrants that are naturalized U.S. citizens think twice about leaving their home because of that fear. And it's well-founded.
Totally.
It's absolutely well-founded.
Yeah.
Well, if you don't mind me telling your story, right? When we were going to Chicago and we had to think really hard.
We did.
Does the diversity duo go to Chicago? And what does that mean? I didn't have, honestly, here's my, give me the word I have. Here's my
Privilege.
Thank you. Here's my privilege. I have no fear of walking into an airport. Right. My Irish immigrants have already taken care of that battle for me.
That's
right. It's over.
Totally.
That's right.
It's over. And it's not that they went without battles.
No.
But they're over now.
It is.
And because I get to look like this, but I had to be fearful for what are we going to do?
I was so petrified that she convinced me. She goes, let's do it. And I'm like, you know what? Let's do it. Because I can't live my life in fear. I've been on this earth for so long, and I refuse to be fearful over something that it affects so many people. But somebody has to take a stand.
Yeah.
And decided to go. I was ready with my passport. My passport was with me at all times. Birth certificate, passport, social security card. I had everything on me. But, that little fear, I'm sitting on the restaurant and I'm looking over my shoulder constantly. So it was well-founded, but I am so glad that you were there and my fears were, to a degree, put to rest.
And I think it's part of what I find so exasperating right now is my friend from Puerto Rico, who, again, I'm going to go on record.
Please say it.
Puerto Rico is part of the United States.
Please say it. You
they
hear that,
are
right?
part of the United States. I look forward to our federal government firing the president of Puerto Rico. But my gosh, it's part of the United States. I don't know. But it's
good.
this, right? But it's the idea that we know that the conversation of do we go to Chicago?
Right.
And I had to accept the burden, an easy burden, right? An easy burden for me to accept of, well, let's give it the old college try and put you on the I don't know.
And we had a lovely time.
Oh my gosh! Shout out to Chicago because we really loved it.
I loved the
Absolutely
Navy Pier.
Beautiful Navy Pier, gorgeous,
lovely. The restaurants, everybody that worked at that restaurant, fantastic. So it was a lovely time.
Yeah, this was a nice problem.
Yes,
this was not a Chicago problem.
No,
so, no. But listen, we're going to digress every single time we talk about ICE Chicago. That's going to happen. But I love that I love the mission of your business, Dulce. I think the idea that, and I think it's so important now. I'm a proponent of therapy, but to Maria's point earlier, the amount of trauma that we are imposing through these oppression and oppressionist acts is going to be horrifying for these kids and the adults. And I don't mean to downplay the adults, but we have a generation coming up that I don't know how we open our arms in an embrace that's going to bring people of color and immigration status in to say you are welcome and comfortable and I don't know, mea culpa, please forgive us. I don't know what we do.
Right.
It's
gonna take a long time to fix this.
It really breaks my heart because the way I've seen it, and Maria, I've told you this before, right? And it's one of my, it's a very big concern of mine right now. The way I see it is we've literally spent generations at trying to heal ourselves, right? Are trying to believe that, no, I can say something because I do deserve a place at this table.
Yes.
So it is okay for me. It is, quote unquote, safe for me to say something. And I'm going to do it and I'm going to say it. And especially young people, right? First and second generation and third generation. So I cannot, one of my biggest concern, and I cannot help but wonder what's going to happen with all this progress that we've made through literally years and years and years of working with all of this, right?
Yes.
So yeah, you're absolutely right.
I'm gonna hang my hat on. Are you ready for this? On Marjorie Taylor Greene,
That makes two of us.
because Marjorie Taylor Greene
She has done a complete...
has turned her back on the
completed-
president of the United
Yes.
States in a way that she's saying, I don't know if she just recently recognized she's a woman. I don't, and I don't mean to be mean when I say that, even though it was mean, and I apologize. But I don't know if she just recognized her alliance belongs with her alliance of other women. I'm going to hang my hat that we have a shift that's coming, and it will be mighty, God willing.
You know what? That's all I hope for. I mean, after all, United States is the land of the free, the land of opportunity. And right now, doesn't feel like either one of those things.
Right.
And it breaks my heart. I really never thought in all the years that I've been here that I would ever not only see it, but experience it.
Yeah.
Because the same fear that Dulce has for her and her family, I have it for mine. Right. And all three boys were born here, but they don't look like you. Neither one of them look like you.
Yep.
Okay.
One has hair like mine, but...
And my grandkids, that fear is less so because, I mean, they don't even speak Spanish.
Right.
So, but still, there's a little bit, once they give their last name, hey, he's Latino. You know what I'm saying? So other than that, it is a constant fear. And I can only imagine how the rest of, my fellow immigrants feel like.
So I feel like we have hijacked the podcast that we welcomed you to, and I do, and I apologize, and I want to jump. I want us to take a nice breath that we are here and safe in the studio.
That's good.
And I want to come back to your business, and because I think, again, we're such supporters of your mission.
Yep.
And I'd love to know. So. If we could kind of make a scenario so you could talk a little bit about it. I'm an organization. I'm in Seattle, Washington. What's happening in my business that I'm going to pick up the phone and call you, Dulce, and say, I need some of your services. What does those services look like?
Yeah. Well, Lisa, because of the situation, I am in this transition where I am almost reimagining or really like taking into consideration, exploring how does my business need to change with everything happening. And I'm telling you this because last year was challenging, this year even more so, because there's a lot of organizations that they do not have a budget, right?
Yep.
With that being said, thankfully, there's been a couple of things coming up recently. The way I see it is that people have realized that if they don't do anything, their employees cannot sustain the current environment, right? So with that in mind, I've had very few workshops this year, and some of the organizations that have hired me have been very careful about the language that we use.
Yep.
Yep.
So
to answer your question, I think that maybe 3 years ago I would have had a very definite answer. Right now, that's shifting. But I do want to continue doing what I love with the population I love. And the way I look at it is holding space, right? Providing tools, facilitating and holding that space where we can check in, where we can talk about what's happening, how can we take care of ourselves in it without the fear of, is this going to affect how they see me, if this is going to affect my, I don't know, my relationship with my supervisor, and really doing it in a cultural humility way.
Yep. Can I ask a question just back on what you just said? The relationship with the supervisor, is there could you maybe define the fear that the employee might have of I'm assuming, so correct me if I'm wrong, it's the creation of friction from employer to supervisor, employee to supervisor? Is that what you're alluding to there?
I feel that's always been there, but the way I was looking at it is not just now, but perhaps now even more so, is that fear of, are they going to look at me the same way if they really know what I'm going through, right? Are they, will I still have my job if I really tell them that I'm struggling with, I don't know, like making it to work because I've been driving the whole 20 minutes of my commute, or, so that type of, how is this going to impact my work? Is my work going to be safe if they really truly know what's happening, with me and my family and so on?
I don't like when I use the word funny. It's annoying, it's bothersome, it's funny, it's all of those things.
Aggravating.
Yeah. And
disappointing.
It's disappointing,
right,
that as you climb the ladder in a corporation, you're allowed to humanize yourself more so that your personality, your personal issues, your ego, your personhood can be displayed more with comfort than that of your employees, right? And I'm going to go back to a triangle again. This time I'm not assless, but I'm going to go back to a triangle. And I think, how is it that we have the masses who we overlook as kind of personalized and human beings and people with all of the issues that we would anticipate having, and instead we're saying you need to stifle, again, another oppressive word, you need to stifle that and stay put until you've done this magical act of climbing up into the food chain or the labor ladder, right? And at some point you reach this level that you get to then say, I'm a person and I'm struggling. And for the past 2 years of hearing so much mental illness support, I questioned, from the outside looking in, I'm a small business, I question these mid to large size businesses when they talk about mental illness support.
Right.
Cultural support has to be right there along with it.
Because mental issues have always had this stigma, right?
Yeah.
And people don't want to admit to the fact that there's a stigma. To me, it took me 10 years of therapy, 10 years because of childhood trauma, to be able to speak freely about those things that held me back. And now whenever self-doubt comes creeping out, I remember the tools that were given to me by my therapist. Until this day, those tools are still I put them to use every day and they do work. But we need to be able to talk about it freely.
Yeah.
It doesn't define us.
Maria, can I go back to something that Lisa said? Lisa, I understand, but from my experience, I would like to add that sometimes even those people on top do not say anything,
Very true.
Right.
And that's
right.
That in a way, it's even more troublesome. Not that they're the only ones that should say something, but then it's about representation, right?
Yes.
So if I see someone, talking about, I don't know, like a while ago, I was reading something about someone in a Zoom call, breastfeeding, right? And they were like commenting on it and they were like, oh my goodness. But if I see someone doing something it's almost like I can do that too. I can. So if, you know, like, and it's all about representation too, right?
Yes.
So if I see, I completely understand and where you're coming from, but at the same time, if those people talked about, I don't know, having anxiety or having, you know, depression, like dealing with depression at some point in their lives.
It's like you're looking for permission.
Almost,
You're almost looking for permission to just let go and, hey, this is what's happening.
I'm going to stand corrected on that. And I absolutely agree with you. It is about the representation. I more meant the representation has to start from the top. Because it can't. Yeah. So I think we're saying the same thing, but I will stand corrected. You're absolutely right. It has to be a top-down representation of it that then allows and welcomes.
Yes.
And to me, that's what your organization does, right? That's you know, and you know, we've spoken, Maria and I have spoken to a lot of companies or many companies that talk about culture and bring cultural conversations into business. And why it's so important. And where I love your organization, you're taking culture and mental health and you're combining them together, which is a very 2025, 2026 problem.
Yes.
I have to say,
you're very much so.
Unfortunately, your timing is perfect.
Yeah.
Right. But
just when I thought I was doing okay.
But I think, you know, that to me, that is the driver of what your organization is and why companies should be engaging with you for workshops. I mean, we talk about a lot of workshops that happen in businesses.
And very rarely you hear any workshops that involve the element of mental health. And I think it should be part of small businesses. We know that it's a lonely place to be. But I believe that if we were to have somewhere to turn and say, hey, how do you handle this? You know, from a specialist perspective, then we would not be in such turmoil, if you will. Right?
Yeah.
You know, and to that point, Dulce, what are some signs that small business owners, professional people, immigrants can look for that might turn into trauma, right? And how can we work with that? So what are some of those signs?
Yeah. So long time ago, my first work was at McLean Hospital when, I worked there for a year. I only spoke Spanish once in that whole year at McLean Hospital, but I'm grateful for that opportunity. Anyways, that's where I've learned to look closer to two things, intensity and frequency, right? And those two things.
Can you describe both?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So we all have days when we're feeling sad, right? Like we all have days when we want to isolate. We all have days when we hate everyone, and that's being a human.
That's right.
The indicators, Maria, to answer your question, I would invite people to look into how intense is all of that, right? If it gets to a point where that sadness, it's so intense that
to the point of being overwhelming,
being at home without wanting to see people, like that intensity, right? Like where it's affecting your day-to-day life. That's how I would define intensity.
Okay.
With frequency, again, we all have days when we're feeling a certain way. As women, we're cyclical, and that might be part of our cycle, right? So we know ourselves, and that's okay if it happens maybe, I don't know, like 3 days a month, right? Where you're feeling down, where you're like just wanted to stay in bed, where in fact some companies now have mental health days where you can use one of those.
Right.
But that frequency, when it's too frequent, again, when it's at the point where it's happening more often than not, right? I would describe, like I would see those as red flags.
Okay.
So those two, Maria, might be indicators. And everyone is different, right? So that's the thing about how how something might be or might turn into a traumatic event. Maybe the three of us here, we would be exactly through the same situation. And perhaps, I would be completely fine and maybe you would interpret it different.
Right.
And it's not so much about the situation, but it's about the situation feeling too big or too overwhelming for the tools we have emotionally. And that leaving an emotional scar that stays with us, right?
I am so grateful to have the relationship I have with Lisa, because there are times that she's in her office, in her house, I'm in my office, and I'm like, I need to bounce ideas out of somebody else. I immediately call her. If she's busy, I'll call you right back. And she does. Likewise, when we need to celebrate each other, we don't call anybody else but each other. And then we call everybody else and we celebrate our, ups and downs. And I am so grateful to have her in my life. She's a very good soundboard. She very rarely agrees with me, which makes it even better, because then that opens the lines of communication, and whatever mental fog you were starting to get because you're so alone working by yourself, that lift, because we end up laughing always. We end up
and you're stimulated by
laughing.
Yes.
Yeah. I don't know that most people would know that we disagree as much as we disagree.
We do.
We do. But can I share our story?
Please.
I won a contract last week or so, and I was in the car.
Congratulations!
Thank you very much. Thank you, and it was very exciting, and it's a great contract. And so I immediately call Maria and I say, "Oh my God, I won this contract!" And she hoots and hollers, and my wife happened to be in the car, and I'm sorry. So when I told my wife, she said, "Oh, that's wonderful." I was like,
I know who I'm going to call.
So I'm like, I just
you needed some
one
cheer.
to be celebrated. I need to be celebrated. I'm calling Maria.
So I call Maria. She hoots, she hollers. I hang up with her. Okay, great. I get home next morning. I call Maria and I say, okay, so we need a kickoff approach. And she said, oh, what are we talking about?
Wait a minute, what?
And I said, the contract. I named you. You're the sub on this contract. Her level of hoot and holler did not differ from when she thought it was me alone. And that's what, for me, that's what makes this great, but it's also what makes...
That's what support looks like.
That's what support looks like.
Yeah. That's what support looks like.
It should be exactly the same.
What collaboration looks like right here.
Yeah.
Right here.
Yeah.
Yes. So, and then I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe it. Here I am the day before. My God, you worked so hard for it. You deserve it. Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. Lisa is laughing because I'm so loud. Even George says, what are you celebrating? Lisa got a contract. And he goes, oh, tell her congratulations. And then when I told him the following day, I'm in the contract with her. Woo-hoo!
Yeah, but I think this is what small business needs.
Yes.
And one of the things I'd like to give a recommendation, not that you asked for it, but I'd love to give you a recommendation, is about small businesses and how maybe for your workshops do you work out something to support small business. And I say this to maybe some of the government agencies that have some grant money, right? Mm-hmm. How do you think about building cultural awareness and mental health in a collaborative way so that it's supporting small business? Because I think it's important.
Right.
And it's important for Maria and I that we have cultural differences.
Absolutely.
Because, it's the world has cultural differences. So how do I navigate, right? And how do I navigate moments that maybe don't make sense to me, maybe don't make sense to her, and we can bring them together and just say, what did they mean? Oh, they don't mean anything. It's a cultural difference.
Right.
Okay.
And to that point, Lisa, what advice can you give to people that are allies, right? Mm-hmm. To professional immigrants, people that are in position of power. What advice can you give so they can feel comfortable in supporting us?
Yeah, many times, and putting my business hat on, which is not always easy for me, and it's not my first hat to put on, right? Is how can you make this about business? In other words, what is the ROI, right? Like, how can you, quote unquote, justify? Because unfortunately, we have to justify it, like saying that, well, this is a mental health workshop might not be enough.
Right.
So how can you bring the business perspective and really explain why it's important? Perhaps it's less turnover, right? Like perhaps is better performances. So how is that going to impact your employees? And it's taken me a long time to realize this, and I'm by no means an expert on putting that together, right? But it seems to me that that's a big part of it. Because and again, I go back and forth on that, right? Because there's also this element where the feedback I get from corporations sometimes is like, Dulce, that sounds too soft if you say self-compassion. And I'm like, that's exactly what I want to say.
And what we need. And what we need.
I'm not going to put it out or say it differently.
Right.
By the way, self-compassion is one of the pillars of my work because it literally changed my life. It's something that I wasn't, I didn't even know what it was. And then...
Are we talking about putting the bat down? Is that what we're saying? Self-compassion, put the bat down, right?
Self-compassion. So basically, all that love, compassion, understanding, empathy that you have to someone you love, imagine that does a U-turn and comes back to you.
Yeah.
That'd be nice.
Right? Wouldn't that be amazing? So it's that, that, and again, it's taken me also a long time to say, no, thank you. I understand where you're coming from. And this is exactly why it's so important for me to call it self-compassion. Right. So it's navigating those two worlds, Maria, in a way that there is that business component that makes it, quote unquote, profitable to bring this into the organization.
Right. And that's really vital, right? Because what you're, I mean, we're all in business.
100%.
And we can't ask businesses don't give charity unless they're giving charity, right? But when we ask business to invest, how do we use language that shows that the return, the ROI, the investment, it actually comes back to them? And I think that's a really great point. When we started talking about you coming on today, and one of the things I was so excited about is that there is a line in my mind. There is a line of where business is business, and I'm pretty conservative about where business invests their money and how they spend their money. But labor's actually one of them. And somewhere, I don't feel like we're making the connections globally, right? That we're making the connection of the labor investment to the emotional, cultural stability of our labor force. You can't have one without the other. We can pretend, and I feel like we pretended for many, many years here.
Yes, generations.
Right? I mean, the 70s were tough, man. They were tough times. The 80s, horrible times, right? Right. And here we are in a world that's in rough shape. I'm just going to say it that way.
Yeah, I like that.
We have to be able to support our labor. And I think you made some great points about the return on investment, about the labor force, about having people show up to work every day, about not using all of their sick time, for reasons that are not due to illness. We want to have sick time. We want to know if you get sick that you don't come in. But if you're emotionally unsafe, well, that's not sick time. Let's help be proactive to support that from the company out to the employees.
You know what I would love to see and see it really implemented and implemented for good. For example, police departments have a therapist on call.
Right.
Why can we have that in a work or place of employment or schools? Some schools have them. I think that mental health have this stigma, like I have said before. What is the one myth or several myths that most people, regardless of cultural backgrounds have about mental health and hiring somebody, a professional, to help them navigate that maze?
Yeah. So I'm going to answer that question, and then I would like to go back to something that you mentioned, Lisa.
Okay.
I feel that even though I see, the stigma is real. The stigma is
real.
absolutely real.
Very real.
If we add the cultural component, it just makes it stronger, right? I do see younger people being more open to therapy, but one thing and a myth, and I feel something that it's definitely there, is thinking about therapy as something, not necessarily the last option, but something that I can use almost if I'm in crisis, right? And when I don't know about you, I'm trying to be better, but it's so easy for me to say, "Oh, my neck hurts." If it hurts more,
I'll go and get a massage.
I'll make an appointment, and it ends up to the point where I need to go to urgent care because I waited that much.
Yeah.
And we think about therapy, and I think this is very Westernized, right? Like it's how we look at many, like systems, medical systems, and therapy being one of them, or mental health being included in that package. What if we think about therapy as a preventive care? What if we think about therapy, and I invite everybody to do that, as not that tool, but one tool that can help me not to get worse, right? Not to feel worse. Instead of thinking about therapy as my last resource, and I'm almost in crisis, or I've had 2 crises already, and that's what I want to try. That's what I want to do. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so you don't wait until the last minute, right, to go and seek help.
Yeah, and therapy, and I cannot highlight this enough, with the right therapist, because it seems that, as always, right, like in any field, there's many people, and sometimes there might not be the best match for you. So something that happens to me, the majority of people I work with, they've either thought of therapy for the longest time, and finally they're ready to do it, and very intentionally they're doing it with me, or they had a horrible experience with a therapist. And that, to me, it's like, I hate to see that, because what happens, and what I see often, especially within the Latinx and immigrant community, is that they might have this internal conflict, and finally, when they're ready to ask for help, they might have a therapist that is not the best fit for them.
Right.
So what that might do is, I knew it, therapy is not for me, and then they might disregard it completely, or they might be, hesitant to get therapy for another 10 years. So therapy with the right therapist, right? Like with the right therapist.
That was one of my questions for you, and I'm glad you answered that. And I have a little story to share with you. At one point, before I ended up with the therapist, fantastic woman. I loved her. I hope you're enjoying retirement. I was seeing somebody, it was a man. And he kept on asking me these questions, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to give him the answer. He's not going to like them, but I'm going to give him the answer. So one of the questions was, do you find yourself spending money that you don't have? So my answer to him was, I'm the single mother of 3 boys. The answer is no. Another question, which I was like, where's it coming from? Do you find yourself suffering from melancholy every day? And I said, I wouldn't say every day, but as a human being, that's one of my emotions. So I'm going to say not every day. And then he asked another question, and I'm like, where are you going with this? I finally said, where are you going with this? He says, well, I just want to make sure that you are okay. And I said, your questions are not making me feel comfortable.
Yeah.
And I said,
good
what?
For you.
I did. I said, you know what? This is not going to work for me. Goodbye. Pay my bill. Left. And then I found Claudette. And she was, like I said, a lifesaver. She asked the right questions. And perhaps because she was a woman and she could, I could identify with her and her with me. It was absolutely great. She was a mother of 3 boys. I was a mother of 3 boys. So we have that commonality,
I think therapy is a natural course of what you should be doing in every given week.
Right.
Right. But as much as I think it's a function, right? I have a bookkeeper who is a function.
Right.
I have an attorney who's a function. I have a business coach who is a function.
Yep.
It literally, I am the poster child of it takes a village, right? But because I'm not supposed to be able to do everything on my own.
You can't. You can't.
I have many years showing I cannot, but I have wonderful, years showing when I rely, we talk about asking for help. That always comes up when we talk to entrepreneurs is you need to be able to outsource and ask for help and be vulnerable in doing so, or you're missing out on the opportunity. The opportunity to ask for help is actually the gift to the asker.
Yep.
Right? And then from the askee, if you ask me for something, you've given me the gift of being able to do something for you.
Right.
Right? It is a two-way street. But yeah, I think, and I talk about therapy a lot. Everybody should be in therapy.
Absolutely.
Everybody should outsource,
Absolutely.
whatever they're comfortable outsourcing.
Right.
What happens at home stays home.
What happens at home stay home. And you can only depend on yourself. And I have found out through my life.
And be proud of it.
And be proud of that.
That's right.
That's not always true.
Yeah.
Because I would not have made it to this point without collaboration, assistance, and help from those around me that were experts on this, expert on that, expert on that. So to that effect, I really advise people go out and just find a therapist, find somebody that you can talk to. Look, they don't have a skin in the game. They're not going to tell you what you want to hear. They're going to tell you what, they're professional, based on a professional, what do you call that? Professional.
Credentials?
No.
Expertise?
Thank you. Professional expertise. Till this day, I swear and I believe in the power of having a therapist.
One thing that I would like to add is, again, I understand, and I love, Lisa, how you put it, like when you talked about functions, right? I understand. So I started out, as many therapists do, working in community mental health. Many times there's a wait list. It might be a wait list of months, literally months, right? Many times, because I was Spanish speaking, I was a generalist, right? Like I saw adolescents, I saw couples, I saw children, I work with substance abuse, I work with obsessive compulsive disorder, I work with trauma, because I spoke Spanish. So I understand that in that setting, many times people do not have the option to try to choose who are you going to see. You're lucky if you get to see someone in a, 2-week period and don't have to wait 6 months. However, I always, always, always encourage people to interview the therapist you want to meet with.
Right.
I myself offer a 15-minute, I call it a breakthrough session. And the way I see it is we're not going to get to fully meet each other in 15 minutes, but it's going to give us a chance to talk about what we want, how we work, are we a good fit or not, right?
There you go.
And many times, because of that cultural values, it's hard for us to feel that we can ask questions, right? Especially to people. So many people call me doctora, right? And I'm like, I'm not a doctor. You can call me Dulce, but please remember, I'm not a doctor, right? So I do think that that's a big part of it, and I don't want to make this sound completely transactional, because the way I think of therapy is an investment of your time, your emotion, your energy, your money, right?
Right.
But ultimately, you're paying someone for a service. And if you're seeing that someone through the insurance, you're still paying someone for your service. So how can you keep that in mind and ask questions that maybe, one time I was looking for a therapist and the therapist got extremely offended because I told her I needed to ask her questions. So I immediately knew she wasn't a good person for me. And that's okay.
And that's okay.
That's okay.
But
how can you keep in mind that if this is going to be an investment, there's no guarantee that you're gonna know that's gonna be the right person for you. But chances are that talking about it before, that you're gonna even physically, you're gonna feel a certain way. How can you ask I don't want to say the right questions, but how can you have a conversation before to try to get to know each other a little bit better? And I feel that even that culturally is not easy for many of us.
It's not. So Dulce, one of the things I think is incredible is that you have this kind of Massachusetts-based one-on-one therapy service, which is lovely. And then when we turn our views kind of to the national level, your services really entail going into businesses and creating some workshops. I don't know that we dove into the workshops as much as I would love to hear. Do you want to dive into them a little bit more?
Yes, that'd be great. Especially there's small businesses out there, not only Massachusetts, all over, that might be interested in your services.
Yeah. So it all started during COVID. Because I was approached by an organization that had a lot of international employees at the time, and you remember that we couldn't travel, so they were like, Dulce, can you talk to them about how to spend the holidays, like emotionally and whatnot? And I absolutely loved it, and they told me, can you do this once a month? And that's when a whole new world opened up for me. So the way I approach it is that I could, and I have several workshops ready, but what I really like to do is getting to know the organization, to know exactly what they need so I can customize it for them. And it's always keeping in mind or bringing mental health as a priority. While we explore, again, what they need, what their employees need at that time.
So you have this methodology where you go into organizations, you spend a little time getting to know the players, of course, but then you tailor workshops around culture and mental health and bring these groups of employees at different levels together. And this is something that you can offer like on a monthly basis, so we can see an organization throughout a year and see those cyclical or ebbs and flows, I guess.
Yeah, and it all depends to what is it that they need. So workshop is the term for that space where it's more, there might be slides or might be exercise, but we also can get together in a check-in base, right? So many times what happens is that people want to talk. People want others to hear them. And they might not feel comfortable doing it with someone in-house for many reasons.
Of course.
So that's where I come in. It's not therapy, but it's a group where we talk, we check in, we talked about what's happening. So that can be part of it. And the way I see it is as a consultant, which is ultimately what I do, it's helping organizations nurturing, improving, cultivating their mental health culture. So
that's fantastic.
There's so many ways to do that, right? It all depends on what is it that they want. And for many of them, a monthly workshop might not be exactly what they need. They might need something different. So we can create it. That's the beauty of customizing what they want, what they need, what they didn't know they wanted, what they didn't know they needed, and working together.
And do you typically go through HR? Is that kind of your avenue into businesses, is through the HR model?
That's what I am working towards. So far, yes, but many times ER groups found me.
Gotcha.
And that's where right now it's a little problematic with all the changes happening, right?
Sure.
And and unfortunately, huge companies, ERG, sometimes might not have enough budget.
Yeah.
So that's where it's like, okay, how can we do it? So a way to do it is to bring different ERGs together, and have that, instead of being just for one of them, bringing a group together, or doing it directly through HR, which
Wonderful.
So
that's really amazing. And I know that we have 2 books that are sitting over her shoulder.
Yes, we want to.
We haven't even referenced them. And I don't feel like you should, because your name's in one of them.
No, we should. We definitely should.
do they look familiar, Maria?
They look very familiar. So, of the many things you have accomplished, Dulce, I know that you are a author on 2 anthology books. Can you talk to us a little bit about both books?
Yeah, so I thank you, Maria.
You're very welcome.
Maria is one of my co-authors, and you always inspire me to talk about it more, because I feel that that's something I want to expand, that capacity of mine to remember the part of being a co-author. But yes, so I had the opportunity of being a part of Extraordinary Latina Volume 3 and Ella Poderosa Volume 1. As a psychotherapist, it wasn't necessarily easy to talk about myself. That's being like from an academic perspective, like hearing that over and over, which that's not necessarily how I practice. But when you hear that self-disclosure is not good, and again, I feel that self-disclosure can be very good to some extent, depending on the situation.
It can be liberating.
But it wasn't necessarily easy to talk about myself, and that's what I did. So yeah, I'm very proud to be part of those 2 books, which you're also part of.
So that's exciting, and I can say that it's a good read, right? And your stories are interesting, and they're compelling. There's a couple of stories in there that are real tearjerkers, and it's just wonderful. It's a little embarrassing because I know you all kind of differently now, having read a little bit. So embarrassing? I didn't mean to say embarrassing.
No.
That was a weird word.
What word would you use
Let me go
instead?
back on that.
Yes.
I don't know what word I would use.
Enlightening?
Enlightening. Thank you. Gosh,
I love
God.
your reframes, Lisa. I wanted to recognize that over throughout our time together, I saw you doing this more than once, and
what do I do?
Reframing things, right?
Yes.
Like using a different word.
She has one of those
yourself.
brains.
I love that.
She has one of those
and
brains,
that's something that I invite people to do in therapy and in my workshops all the time. And I call it a reframe. So it's like you said something like, I don't know, I'm never going to learn how to do this, right? Or I'm stupid. And then it's like, well, can we look at this differently? Right? And I love how you do that so naturally. So I just wanted to recognize it. And
can I tell you a quick story? It involves the producer, Mr. Elijah. So Lisa and I were talking about doing an end of the year review, and I'm trying to sell it to him. He's saying no. Very clear. He says no. And then Lisa, backing me up, she reworded it immediately, and he made a face and he says, "You're saying the same thing me might say." We were laughing so hard. I'm like, she tried so good. So yeah, I admire people that are able to pivot so immediately and rephrase something.
Well, it's looking at it from a different perspective, and I feel that's what I try to do in my work.
Yes.
Right? Because the problems are going to be there, the situations are going to be there. But how are we able to look at it differently so we can find tools, so we can find even that point of light, right?
Yep.
That keeps us going.
So I'm a believer that I am 100% right every time I speak. And this can be frightening, so you have to hear me to the end.
Yeah, I'm trying not to laugh. Go ahead.
Okay. But I am.
You're trying very badly.
I know. Go ahead.
Thank you very much for that. No, but I am. I am right as I'm speaking. And I put it out into the world, and the world might respond with something different.
Right.
My the important part of who I am for me is that I am not married to my stance. It's I'm right. And then you've said something and I think, oof, I'm wrong.
Yeah.
But I'm okay being wrong.
And you're able to verbalize it and say, you know what, I was wrong about it. And that's very, I don't want to say unique, but it's rare.
Well, thank you. I just feel like you should be judicious in how you think about things. Right. And if I didn't think I was right, I would be so fearful of speaking all the time.
That's true. That's true. You know, and to pivot a little bit, I want to share with our audience that Dulce is the sister of Koromoto.
Yes.
Koromoto, who designed
Thank you, Koromoto.
Little illustration that you see on every episode of the Diversity Duo. And hopefully one day we'll be able to interview Koromoto.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
Maybe next year.
Oh, good.
We'll be looking forward to that.
Yeah, we'll be looking forward to that.
Now, Dulce, what?
I'm sorry. Do you know that I don't know that we've ever described that cartoon?
Koromoto?
The
Koromoto.
Yeah.
No, we haven't.
No, I don't think
Very
we
few
have.
people. She noticed it, and of course, Koromoto noticed.
Well, she made it. But but I don't know that we've actually ever talked about it. And why?
Do you want to talk about it now?
I mean,
well, we brought it up.
We brought it up.
Okay,
let's talk about it.
So, if people have noticed, we are two super women. We are powerhouses. Okay. That's how I see us. And I'm wearing a cape, and the design inside the cape have hieroglyphics from the Taínos, which I'm a proud descendant of. They were the indigenous people of the Caribbean. And I wanted to, the way Koromoto did it was so sweet and so special to me.
Yeah.
And people that mostly Puerto Ricans have noticed it immediately.
Yeah.
So
thank
you, Koromoto.
And mine is the pride flag that sits inside and for the LGBT shutout. And
yes.
Yeah. No, and it was remarkable.
It was. It was.
And we had no idea what we were going to see. And I don't know that I don't know that it could have been better.
Yeah, I fell in love with them, and I'm like, yes, and she put us with the. You can't mess with us. So I love that. So Dulce, have we forgotten to ask you questions that information you want to share with our audience? I also want you to give information, contact information for those listeners that want to reach out to you. In your website, please.
Thank you, Maria. The last thing, and I know we talked about this, but I would invite people to ask for help, right? I feel that as small business owners, as women, as immigrant, sometimes we're so great at being hyper independent and just we're the go-to or the person that everybody relies on. And sometimes it's not easy to ask for help. So I would really invite people to do it, to practice that muscle. And as far as how to contact me, you can reach out to me through LinkedIn and Instagram as Latina Immigrant Therapist all together, and my website is dulceorozco.com.
Wonderful, and we'll have that up on the screen also. I think this was incredible. Maria, let's jump into some takeaways.
Wow. Mine from this conversation is not to be afraid to ask for help.
Yep.
Yes.
We can certainly be self-sufficient, but it's okay to put ourselves in the hands of others. There's nothing wrong with that. It doesn't mean that you're less than. Right. It means that you're smarter because you knew you were deficient in this area and you decided to seek out professional help or help, period. That was my one takeaway. Yours?
I think I have on camera how much you like me.
Oh my God. I do like. Actually, it's more. It's a whole bunch of respect and admiration, and I do love you.
Well, thank you. So I think my takeaway is this is probably the episode that I think connects what we meant to do for the past year.
There you go.
Because this all started by one simple phone call that happened in the second week of November in 2024. in which I called and I said to you, my brain is going to blow up if we don't start screaming from the rafters about the world.
That's right.
And quite honestly, we didn't really jump into a we didn't come at the world in a way that I thought we might.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm glad we didn't, because I think we needed to get our footing, and I think we needed to get comfortable. And I think the idea that you and I connected in a way that, where culture meets commerce was something that we understood together was really important. You as a Latina woman, me as a lesbian, we knew there's weird times were coming ahead for 2025. Right. And how do we talk about this and balance having our own businesses and have all these joint ventures together and be collaborative and meet all of these absolutely amazing people that have brought, oh my God, what a gift of the world of knowledge, the depth of knowledge that we have brought in from people who have sat in the chairs. And here we are. We're a year into this almost. Congratulations. And
yeah.
And I'm looking forward to 2026. And I'm going to take into 2026 today's episode. It is where culture and everybody is rightfully an owner of their culture.
That's right.
That's
we are our culture.
We are our culture.
Our culture. Yes.
Yes.
Indeed, we are.
So we're coming at the world next year.
We are. I hope you're
We're
ready.
no longer going to be as nice. We're not going to talk about the federal government. We're not going to not mention ICE. We're not going to pretend that all of these things aren't happening and that we are sitting in our small business bubble. We're busting out.
We are. We are.
All right. This was a great episode.
This was great. Thank you so much. Well, with that, my dear listeners, I hope you have enjoyed Dulce Orozco, owner of Latina Immigrant. Holy shit. Here we go again. Yes. Hold on a second. I'm getting to the best part of the show. Here
And you are who exactly?
Okay, dear listeners, I hope you really enjoyed this episode with my friend Dulce Orozco from Latina Immigrant Therapist. She has been incredible, and hopefully you got so much information that you'll know which way to go, right? And with that, I want to leave you with my favorite quote. Let's continue to amplify diverse voices and foster meaningful dialogues. Until then, this is Maria.
And I'm Lisa. Thanks, everybody, and we will be back next week. Bye.
Okay. So
that was awesome.